agree with you. As soon as interest rates start to reduce, is that we're going to notice that there's even less inventory on the market, and prices will continue to rise.
Welcome back to the Bamford Co. podcast. I'm joined with my brother Ryan today, and we're here to discuss everything real estate. We thought it would be interesting to discuss questions that are commonly asked to us every single day. If it's not by our clients that are either selling or buying, but also just by anybody that we run into. It seems like they ask a realtor these questions. So I guess the number one questions people ask is, what's happening in today's real estate market? So I'll let Ryan answer that because that's a skill testing question and there's a lot to it. So.
Well, hopefully I got the skills here, Greg. Well, it is a common question that we get from absolutely anybody out there. Is it anybody that has a common interest? Everybody's got a common interest with real estate. So the one thing is that our market is divided into a bunch of different parts. So that's kind of a loaded question when we say the single family market might not be the same as condominium or townhouses, right? Now, is it obviously supply and demand? We have an extreme low amount of listings in Saskatoon's current market. I know Greg was saying, I believe you checked the stats this morning, it was about 392 listings, single family listings, for a population of just over 300,000. Right. So as you can imagine, is that supply and demand has resulted in a lot of our properties, going in multiple offers, going first day, if not, going well above list price, if they're actually listed at market value and everything's done in the property. Homes that are move-in ready and are show home like, is that those are the ones that are getting, I guess, the most activity and are going for the highest price points in today's market.
I agree with you. We must work together. On the other hand, what I also find interesting is that when people go to put an offer on a property and then a multiple offer scenario, you're looking at past comparables. So you're looking at comparables that have been sold for the last 30, 60, and 90 days. You're not looking at tomorrow's prices. But if you want to beat out people on those properties, you have to look at what's the value tomorrow. Because there's a lot of people that get into a scenario where they've put an offer on how many houses and they've missed out on, let's say, 3 properties. Now they're in a different scenario to where now that property's worth $30,000 more than what it originally was. And now they're trying to then push that price so they don't keep on missing out. So it depends on how many offers are on a property and who you're competing with, which you can't always, I guess, know. But those are things that we look at when we're in that scenario is what's that future price going to be?
For sure. And I have a lot of clients that have been, taking possession, say in the last couple months. Prime example, we had a townhouse the other day that we purchased a couple $1,000s over list price. And next thing you know, a week later, we had the same townhouse from the same developer down the street that was listed for $20,000 higher without basement development. So I know exactly what you're saying is that a lot of our clients are actually, even though they're paying a little bit more today with the amount that the market is increasing so quickly, is that they're making money by the time they take possession. Right. So
for sure.
I think that's a great point is that, you are looking at things, what sells today is going to be our comparables for the next.
Yeah. I truthfully feel from just watching this, and we probably went up about, depends on the neighborhood, but 10 to 15% since probably February. Mm-hmm. And the way that multiple offers are happening right now, I see the market going up another 5 to 10% by the end of September. That would just be that's just my gut feeling and my guesstimate. We can't guarantee that, but with no inventory and also looking at how many builders aren't building the capacity anymore, where are we getting these properties from? Another thing that I didn't really take into consideration when I look at people there's a lot of people right now moving out of their homes that they've been in for a long period of time and moving into a townhouse or a condo. I looked at, okay, so these bungalow townhouses, they're going to be in huge demand. I didn't really think about how many people are coming from the rural side of things in Saskatchewan. So in the last 4 months, I've sold 5 different people that came from Swift Current, Tisdale, Waka, and other parts of it, sold farms, and now I'm moving to Saskatoon, which then also eat up the inventory, and they're not bringing something to market. So that makes it even more complicated.
And they're also paying cash. some of them too, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole negotiating side, and that is it's really tough when you're in that multiple offer situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Question for you. Another question, I guess, that people continue to ask us is, which market is the hottest? Because
yeah, cyclically, is that our market does follow the school year, right? Is that that's pretty typical. Now, in the last couple of years, especially since COVID hit, is that we've had a hot market all the way throughout the year, right? So typically, like right now, is that I did notice a little bit of a, as summer got, as the weather got really hot in July, is that I did notice, obviously school's out at the end of June, is that we do have a couple weeks here where a lot of people are on vacations, rightfully so, makes sense.
Right.
At the same time, is that, our market's not going to slow down, I don't think, for years to come. Is that, the lack of inventory, the population growth is playing a huge factor in how many available houses we have. And then, like you said, is that the amount of builders they're not building single family homes anymore, is that they're either leaving the province because there's no margins to actually make money doing it, or they're changing a lot to rental housing.
Yeah, I agree on that. And so our job as realtors is to look at and where the market's going, and also to interview different areas like builders and contractors and so forth. We also don't have enough trades within Saskatchewan, which then make everything that much higher price to be able to develop out, right? So I think they say that our market, just on the new construction side, has went up 35% pre-COVID. Right. So would you agree on that number? It's kind of,
I would say, yeah, and it's still going up.
Right.
Is the problem, is that, I know the builders aren't making a whole lot of money, but the consumers are still paying for it, and the cost of the material for the people to build it has went up at certain times double and even sometimes triple for the material costs.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a big factor.
We sat down with the builder the other day, and they said pre-COVID cabinets have now went up 100%.
Right.
So, I mean, that's wild.
In a couple of years?
In a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. What do you think that, do you think that we're going to be still dealing with a lot of multiple offers as we come into like September, October? Do you think that there's going to be a price point that's reached?
The reason I say that the market's going to go up 5 to 10%, and that's because of multiple offers. I think that now people, and what might even increase it too, is that as we lower interest rates, right, the Bank of Canada decides to lower their rate, I think that's going to bring more people into the market that have been waiting, and they're going to spend that money, right? And you're getting less from what you did. So if it goes up 10%, that house that was $500,000 now is now going for $550,000. That makes a big difference. So I think people are going to be racing to getting that property. And I mean, if you've been looking as a buyer and you've been seeing these prices and what's been happening, it doesn't even make sense.
Well,
for a lot of people, right?
You've had to adjust what you're looking for in a home because prices have increased so quickly in that regard, right? Is that, obviously interest rates play a factor. Is that they don't have as much, purchasing power when it comes down to being approved for a little bit more with the higher interest rates. But I agree with you, is that as soon as interest rates start to reduce, is that we're going to notice that there's even less inventory on the market, and prices will continue to rise. Who knows exactly how much, right? But there's a lot of different factors that will play. But is that it all comes back to supply and demand, unfortunately.
Another question I had from a client was, do I sell first or do I buy first?
Do you want to be homeless?
That's not a funny joke, no. But at the same time, it's relative, because if you look at the east side of the city, our rental rate, I think, is less than 1%. People say if they go to try to find a rental, they're seeing 100 applicants. So that's when Ryan was just saying, do you want to be homeless? Because you got to find a place to go. And if you do find that place, you're locked in for the next 12 months. So
and it's not just finding a place, it's finding the home with the right, the needs and wants that you're looking at. Is that a lot of the times when I'm dealing with buyers on that side, is that we're going out, we're seeing, different properties that will give us an idea of the location, to give us an idea of the style of the home, the square footage, what's going to meet for them for the lifestyle of their family. But that home isn't available on the market today. Is that we need to do our research, and then when it actually hits the market, we need to be ready to go. Right. Yeah. So is it, I know it's not something to joke about, and that's why a lot of the times is that we're buying, and then just because of the strength in the market right now is that we know that we can potentially get multiple offers on the property, but or not, but at the same time is that we're still looking at selling within the first week or two.
Yeah, I think one thing that I think we've been good at is giving people, here's your worst case scenario, so this is how you make your decision, but we aim for the best. But if you're making your decision on the worst case, then you're comfortable buying that property, knowing that you're taking a risk, but we haven't missed on that before, right? To where that person wasn't able to sell that property because you've already built that worst case scenario into it. The worst case scenario is if you sell your house and you don't find something for 6 months, and now the rest of the real estate markets went up 15%. Now what are you buying, right? Because then now you're going to panic buy into something that you don't want. I've always looked at is that unless you're getting something better than you're already in, why are you going to sell your property? I mean, that depends if you're right sizing or downsizing on that side of things. But I mean, it's all relative. You want to stay in the market so that you're going to reap the rewards while you're then buying.
We're not just moving to move. So you're moving for, lifestyle changes or, different things that have happened in your life that have changed your needs in a home.
For sure. And everybody's got a different, every person we give a different strategy to, but they're quite a bit similar depending on where people are at.
For sure. Yeah, no, I completely agree. What would you say? I get a client that asks me this all the time. When is the best time to buy?
Yesterday.
You mean, yesterday?
Yeah, I agree. Yesterday.
Is that just because, sorry to interrupt, but is that just because property values are going up?
Yeah, I don't think waiting is going to help you, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Like if you're a first-time home buyer, those properties on Lind, and I might be a little bit off with my numbers, but I think last fall, those townhouses with a finished basement were selling for like $285,000. And now that townhouse is selling for, it was a townhouse selling for $285,000. Now that same townhouse is selling for $350,000.
I get it.
And then if you look at, we saw we're almost in a recession from 2016 to 2020. The houses dropped probably about 15 to 20%. Townhouses a little bit more, and then condos probably took a 35% hit. They haven't seen the rebound because during COVID, nobody wanted to live in a condo or an apartment building or so forth. So we've seen those townhouses rebound. Now it's the condos now that are starting to go. I listed a property in a condo building. We did an evaluation. It sold. The last one sold for $242,500. The week we were going to list it, the next condo that we saw sold for $259,900. So then we had to adjust the same condo in the same building went up about $45,000 within 3 months.
Right.
So it was just every single property was priced about $5,000 to $10,000 higher, and it just kept on going. And that condo building actually still hasn't got their original prices. I think people are still, when they originally bought in for $320,000.
Right.
So it still hasn't went up, and we went from $240,000 to about $285,000, right?
Yeah.
So I guess to answer your question is that it keeps on going up so much. I don't know when it stops. It's when people's buying power stops. But we have also a lot of people coming back from BC, which now these houses are a deal, right? And so it's just a different mindset that you have to be prepared for and to be educated into what scenario you're going to be in, what price range.
Well, you shared a stat, and I don't know the exact numbers, but you said about in 2015, I think the average housing prices were, what, 115?
I thought it was, I mean, I remember
roughly.
remember I think 118, but I mean, I also saw a stat that I think we shared on social media that if a property was priced at $128,000 in 2015, that same house would be today selling for $405,000. So
in 2005.
2005. So
yeah.
Did I say 15?
15.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. My mistake. In 2005, that
Yeah.
property was 128. Now that same property would be 405.
Yeah. And historically, is that even, you look farther back in the charts as well, too, is that property values are continuing to rise. So in the end result, the only answer to that is that, when you can get into your first property, that is the time when you should be buying. Because you need to grow with the market. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind.
For sure. But at the same time, you also don't want to be house poor. right? You want to be able to buy in your means, and a lot of people nowadays want to buy their dream house right off the very beginning. And it's just getting into the real estate market where something that you can afford and then working towards that. That would be my major suggestion, and something I think we both promote to our clients is
For sure.
not buying outside of your means, right? So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Well, thanks, Greg. This has been, a great episode for us, and I'm looking forward to continuing it on.
Yeah, that's
Anything
awesome.
else you want to?
No, I mean, if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions of different topics that you want us to cover, please share them on our social media, messages us, DM us, and we will then bring that into our podcast and then be able to cover it next month.
Right.
And we appreciate you watching. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and so forth, we'd appreciate it. Give us a share, like us. We enjoy what we do. We just want to be able to show more value to our clients and our community.
And you can also just give us a call. We're nice guys.
Yeah, if you want an evaluation on your property, we're the ones to call. So we'd appreciate it.